Welcome back, everybody. I'm about to turn this into something way more functional. If you want to see, stay tuned. So the first thing that I did was build a can organizer for this blank space on my wall. If you want to check out that video, I'll link it below. Let's start with some demolition. If you're wondering where everything went, it's here. With everything demoed and cleaned up, we went to Home Depot and grabbed this corner cabinet. And the first thing I did was I put a spacer behind it and screwed it to the studs of the walls behind. After that, I began to take measurements, and using scrap pieces of wood, I screwed these pieces into the studs and I lined up where I wanted my shelf, this center shelf, to be. It was at this point that I was looking at everything and realizing this is lame. I should do it right the first time. I did not like how the board looked on top of the baseboard. So what I did was I grabbed my oscillating saw and I cut the baseboard out, recut a piece of MDF board that I could use on the side, and it just looks a lot more cleaner and more built in. I cut some more shelf supports and put everything back together to the point where I got to this, like I had before, but with the new pieces of wood. I then repeated this process on the left side of my cabinet. Okay, so I have the base outline of my base cabinets laid out here. Now I need to cut the countertops, and the problem I have is, like, from corner to corner, it's all flat on my wall, but at each corner coming out, the drywall comes outward, so they're not square. So what I'm going to do is I have got this right here, and I'm gonna put it down on my board. So I made sure that it is flush with this wall. And you can see here, this is the wall that it isn't, that it bows out. So I'm gonna follow my pencil along that line. And basically this is called scribing, and it should scribe a line on my board that I can reference to cut on my countertop so that it fits nice and snug against the wall. So let's do that. Awesome. That is a lot closer than it was before. That's my first time scribing. I'm pretty happy with that. So what I did was I took this piece and used it as a template, and I used my trim router with a flush trim bit to make these countertops. With the countertops on, I decided to move on to the upper cabinets, and I wanted my right cabinet to be in line with the edge of my base corner cabinet. So I measured that, and then what I did was I created boxes using pre-cut melamine board from Home Depot and plywood. I used the melamine board on the two sides because they had pre-cut holes for the shelves and the plywood for the top and bottom. Then I added some scrap melamine boards with pocket holes on the back side of the cabinet and screwed those together. Those were going to be extra support, and I can drill through those into the studs in the wall to hold my cabinet up. When hanging the cabinet, we made sure to use a level to make sure everything was square, and then we also used shims for the spaces for the sides that were not square. And then we followed the same steps for the smaller cabinet on the left side. So I had a vision of this open shelf to go beneath those cabinets. It ended up being kind of a jigsaw puzzle because I had to cut everything to size and kind of put it together in pieces inside of the pantry because there was no way that I was going to be able to flip and move things around with these tight corners. So I measured all of the things and then I pocket holed and made sure all my pocket holes were on the undersides and places that I could hide easily. And then I made sure everything was level and screwed everything in. This little side was really kind of difficult. We had to sandwich it and kind of pound it up in there. It was a really tight fit, but it was the only way that we could put these two shelves together. But it ended up working out really well in the end. Next, I put some shelf supports on the sides of the cabinets, and I started to build these corner shelves out of plywood. I did this piece by piece, just measuring to fit. I then cut and added these center shelves with the shelf pins in the cabinet portion and installed an outlet. Then it was finally time to add the face frame to all of the cabinets and shelving. I did this with 1x2 pine boards, and then I glued and pin nailed them in. Next, I cut down a 1/8 inch sheet of wood that I could cut to size and then just pin nail from the bottom to cover all of the pocket holes on the bottom of the shelves and kind of give everything a nice clean look. All right, I am really liking how things are turning out. I have already put on the face frames for my cabinets and my shelves. I have also filled the seams with some spackling and I've done a lot of sanding. At this point, I'm going to be caulking around the seams that I need to make a seamless look and the paint look nice and even and smooth. And then I'm also going to be cutting out circles in vinyl to be covering the screws that I am screwing into the studs. That way, if we ever want to remove anything, then we know where those are. So things are looking really good. I've got my large cabinet, small cabinet, shelves. I think I'm gonna leave the lower shelf in a natural wood. And so now I'm gonna start caulking and we'll get to it. So this was another first for me, but I got this can of wall texture. Basically, the spots that I had taken the shelves and puttied and kind of smoothed out didn't have texture on it where the shelves were previously at. So I grabbed this and it was actually really easy to use. It is a orange peel texture. You can pick between a small or large texture. And so I just put it on a setting and I started spraying and it really blended everything nicely and was really easy to use. Next in line was just a lot of painting. I primed everything and painted some more. So at this point, it is time to work on these plywood finishes. I really love the natural look of the pine and how light it is in this small area. So I'm gonna leave it natural. The first thing I'm going to do is spray it down with water, raise the grain so that I can sand that down. And then I'm gonna do a layer of wipe on poly. I really like this. Basically, you put on several layers, letting it dry and doing a light sand in between, and then you'll end up with a really hard finish. And so that's what I'm gonna do now. The last thing to do before putting everything back in the pantry was to put this wallpaper as a backsplash. This was my first time doing peel and stick wallpaper, but it actually wasn't as difficult as I thought it would be. Just follow the instructions and take your time. And here's the full pantry, totally complete. We've got our can organizer. Like I said, if you want to see that video, there's a link in the description. This was actually a really fun build. It was kind of difficult piecing everything together, especially in such a small space, but I love how it turned out and everything is just so much more functional now. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. If you like this kind of content, please comment, like, and subscribe. And I hope that you have the courage to tackle some projects on your own. Stay tuned for more videos and we'll check you guys out next time.